Chapter 1. On my son Birdie, my husband tested his first love to come pick him up from our home. I stubbornly refused to let him go, and thus we are good if first fire broke out in the Hului. I was trouble I fall in debris, and my bleeding professor, but I should eat my son beneath me, leaving him unharmed. But when my firefighter husband tried to rescue us, he grabbed the only guess meska and hindi I cheat to his first love. And Tanya isn't well. That is away here first. Mommy, you wait for another firefighter to come and rescue you. I watched them live a bitter smell vorming on my lips. I teased him they had forgotten that I suffer from savory yeastmer. We eat or take guess meska, I could die. Amid the flames I watched helplessly as my husband carried another woman desperately rushing to safety. And the son I nearly yet to bring into these words to protectively by her side to reach might foul occasionally reaching out to steady her. From beginning to end neither of them looked back at me. And my heart ached unbearably. I was upset to be their family but in the ways of life, and as they didn't hesitate to abandon me. If I an hour earlier Anya had not on my the Uru wanting to check my son out for his Bergie. I coldly refused, but Lucas, who had been doing homework in each's room, heard the commotion. He burst out pushing me aside and grabbing her hand at his waist, beaming with his penis as he did out. And my heart ached but I stubbornly tried to stop them. But my son beat down hard on the arm I used to hold him back, or his face filled with a hint of hatred. Why won't you let me go with Tanya? If it's cheering for you and Tanya would be my mom. I wish you were that he must really hate me for beating my arm so hard I bled. As we are good, the fire broke out in the whole way. We were trapped anxiously waiting for rescue. My son inspired me a glance, staying close to Anya, patiently comforting her like a little doll. Dante and Tanya, you were so important to the day comes away you first. I was heartbroken and nearly shattered. 7 years surely even a dog would have developed feelings by now. But he hadn't. All he felt for me was hatred. And the reasons he hates me are so ridiculous it is just because I refused to buy him outrageously toys or let him play on his phone before finishing each his homework. Most importantly, I refused to step aside and let Anya be his mother. Yet even so, when I saw the stone slap above him about to fall, I didn't hesitate to rush over and shoot him with my body. The slap struck me, leaving my eye bleeding, but he pushed me rude reached on his waist as he grabbed Anya's hand, asking if she was okay. Even when I love burst through the door wearing a gizmeska, my son immediately ran over, grabbed the only gizmeska and hindi I cheat to Anya. That's away Anya first. She's not well. Later another firefighter rescue mom. Tears welled up in my eyes as I managed a bitter smile. I raised almost into bottle of my medication and told them, my medicine is running out, I can't survive much longer in this make. 7 years ago today I lay on an operating table bleeding out during a difficult childbirth, teetering on the brink of life and death. Before I lost consciousness, I clung to Alo's hand, begging him to save the baby no matter what. If the worst should happen, I told him to choose the baby over me. But today, 7 years later, the child I nearly yet to bring into the world was clinging to Alo's hand, begging him to save someone else first. Alo looked at me coldly, cradling Anya in his arms. I just sit on censure down on my spine as he said, Lara, this is what you are, Anita. Just wait a little longer, my colleagues will be here soon. The spirit you want to survive drove me to grab his sleeve and beg. Alo impregnant, you can't hate me, but you can't abandon the child I'm carrying carefully care of Shaq Pestro, Alo says. He had barely been home lately and I hadn't told him. Seeing KJ's hesitation, Lucas angrily prieta my fingers of one by one. Mom, you can't be so selfish, how could you lie to the Tanya as a button uncontrollably in AJ's arms? The compassion in Alo says quickly vanished as he shoved them aside, carrying Anya out the door. Tix Make and Kulafed me and my breaching grew more liberate. The inhaler in my hand was nearly empty. I took one last deep breath, closed my eyes in despair, and a wave of bitterness washed over me. If only I had never started this doomed relationship. Chapter 2 from the beginning, I knew Alof didn't love me. My unrequited love was a secret throughout our 4 years of college. But he already had his first love, Anna, and naturally he didn't care about me. As graduation approached, Anna accepted her family's arrangement to study abroad for her master's degree. The day she left, Alof reeking of alcohol came to find me. He was drunk, holding me in his arms, but calling out Anya's name. I loved him so much that even knowing he had mistaken me for someone else, I still let myself indulge in that fleeting moment of passion. But it was a mistake, and the next morning he threw my clothes at my feet, telling me to get out. What I thought was just an incident turned into something more when I found out I was pregnant. Alo gave me a wedding, allowed me to keep the baby, but named our son Lucas. He must have truly not loved me, because when Anya returned he let her provoke me repeatedly, even allowing her to come to our home and take Lucas Rui. When I hastily questioned, Alo even our son sided with him. He said, Mom, you're not as pretty as Tanya, and you're not as gentle as she is. Why don't you just live? Tenda can be with her, and then Anya can be my mom. My consciousness grew more and more blurred, and I could barely keep my eyes open. I slumped weakly to the ground, unable to muster the strength to stand. Trots de verketing smagea, so a small hit pocket trots the daur. His paket remedly. And do you need help? I struggled to open my eyes, and so a little boy about the same agias my eyes on, which his face was covered in their body as they shone brightly through the smake. He was so small, yet he settled with his strength to help me up, supporting me as we slowly made our way out. The journey was incredibly difficult. There were many times I wanted to give up, but the little boy kept dragging me along, refusing to let go. When we finally made it out of the wire, he was so exhausted that he collapsed to his knees, yet still didn't forget to call for a doctor for me. I held him as a ben controlable. On the way to the hospital, I learned that he had no parents and his grandfather had all perished in the wire. In the ambulance, he buried his face in his hands, trying to still his subservate to disturb and on. I felt an inexplicable ache in my heart and took his hand asking if he would let me adopt him. I just lit up with joy, but he still held back, shaking with his head and saying he didn't want to be a burden. I gave him a bitter smile and told him that since him already a big trouble myself, how could I be afraid of anyone else being a burden to me? We made a promise that once I got out of the hospital, we would start the adoption process. I stayed in the hospital for 3 days. Due to inhaling too much make, I'd soon keep the baby. During those 3 days, Aloha and my son didn't visit me once, not even a phone call. Even though they were just in the room next to mine, busy taking care of Anya, who wasn't even injured. The only one by my side was the little boy who saved me. He told me his name was William, a name which his father had given him. He said that if I was willing to adopt him, he'd let me change his name. I patted to his head and shook my head, refusing. I adopt you, but you don't need to change your name. From now on, you can do anything you like, you don't have to compromise. Aquele says crinkled with a smile and he affectionately rubbed his head against my arm, swiftly saying thank you. I think it'd been so long since anyone had said thank you to me. Aloha and my son who said to find me knowing and never once thanked me. I was moved and hugged him, smiling for the first time in a long while. I encountered Aloha and my son in the hallway. I had just undergone the abortion and William was carefully helping me back to my room. We turned a corner and came face to face with Aloha and my son, who were helping Kanya walk. The three of them were cheating and laughing, looking more like a family. I thought I would be heartbroken, but surprisingly I felt nothing. I simply walked past them in silence. I was Aloha who saw and hold back and called out to me. When I turned round, I saw a flicker of concern in which he says. He asked me, "Lara, are you sure?" I almost wanted to leave. Of course not. I just had an asthma attack and nearly died in the smake. I had needed a fustich and is still ripped in bandage, but apparently is too blind to notice. And I lost the baby too. But perhaps that's a blessing considering a child we had such a child with father and brother. When I didn't answer, Los gases slowly dropped to my a buderman. Seeing my flat stomach, he let out a maginkly. Lara, I actually thought you were pregnant. But I guess it was right, you were just selfishly trying to trick me into saving you first. Lucas stood beside him, glaring at me with resentment. Chapter 3. At this point, here is no need for explanations. I nodded slightly. Think what you want. Think mere life must be disappointing for you. But it's okay. I looked directly into Aloha's indifferent eyes. Aloha, let's get either of ours. He set you free so you can pursue your true love. I then turned to look at Lucas. And you as you wished him no longer your mother. Seeing their shocked faces, I silently laughed. How wonderful you're all free now. I turned to leave, but Aloha grabbed my wrist, which his voice trembled. Lara, what do you mean? Just because I saved Anita first, you want either of ours? Nothing even happened to you and you weren't really pregnant, you were just trying to deceive me. I haven't even blamed you and now you want either of ours. Is it really necessary? I didn't bother to argue and try to pull Rui. But Oje's grip tightened, causing my wrist to turn red. William, who had been quietly standing beside me, suddenly hit tears in Oje's face. He angrily prieta Aloha's hand off and stood actively in front of me, shouting, "Don't. Touch my mom should just hit surgery and he's still weak, you're shifting, sure I almost wanted to leave." He stood there like a little tiger, glaring at Aloha, stubbornly trying to protect me with his small frame. But he was too small, so when Lucas rushed over, he easily pinned him down. Lucas raised with his fist and hit him. "You're a lying, she said, my mom, not yours." William had no strength to fight back. He curled up, shouldering Otis, but still refused to give in. "She isn't anymore." Mom said you didn't want sure you left her in the fire and to she was dead. She said as a вечер and from now on she only be my mom Lucas Frost for a moment each is redning. But when he looked down and saw the silver city look Nicholas round to his neck, it is in returned. He yanked the Nicholas out clutching it tightly in each's hand, which his little face flushed with anger. This was a moment as how dear Urity, he suddenly looked up at me a hint of pleading in which he says, Mom, didn't you say this Nicholas was a gift for me? Did you give it to him? I smiled and gently pulled him up. But instead of hugging him, I swiftly pushed him away. I helped William up brushing the dust away his clothes. Then I pulled him into my arms and snatched the Nicholas from Lucia's hand. I calmly reminded him, you had an identical Nicholas. You thought that he was ugly threw it in the trash. Last year for his birthday, I spent half a month learning how to make two identical safety lock necklaces. And my hands bled from all the hammering. I gave him the most perfect 1 and 2 hours out around my own neck. But when he received the IT, he didn't even bother to look at IT before tossing IT aside. Instead, he hugged the new Lego set Anya had given him and said to me with disdain, Mom, please don't give me air to things anymore. Since the necklace lying in the trash, my heart bled. But I could only smell out coldly and not think, all right, now he's trying to take Elias' necklace. When he saw I wasn't going to help him, tears of frustration welled up in which he says, Mama, I want this one. Can't you just... If you lie, I ask you to buy you one. I calmly interrupted him, taking Elias' hand ready to leave. But when I turned round, I was met with a loose dark staur migazi. Lara, this child just said you had surgery. What kind of surgery? Chipta Chituriash Ragit indifferently. Of course, it was an abortion. Hearing me speak so casually, Aliosis began to redden. He struggled to control his emotions, trying to stay calm. But when he spoke, his voice was tinted with pain. Lara, you aborted our child. At that moment, I looked at him as if he were an idiot. WJ, Alioh, you're a firefighter. You know how many taxi gases are in that smake. I told you I was pregnant, but you still give the gas mask to Anya. And now you're asking me why I pretending to be stupid. I didn't want to look at him anymore. Even one more second made me feel like I might be mighty. Alio's hands trembled as he reached out to hold me, but Anya suddenly clutched for it and collapsed swiftly to the side. Conveniently, she fell right into Alio's arms. The hand that was meant for me quickly pulled back to support her. Anya looked at me weakly, her voice raised with serpalgia. Lara, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to disrupt your family reunion. I just felt a little dizzy. Alioh Nazavia always had a weak constitution. I watched her performance in silence, smiling politely to show I understood. Then, ignoring the anxious showers of Alioh and Lucas behind me, I took Elias' hint and walked through without looking back. Since that encounter in the hall, Alioh and Lucas had suddenly started showing concern for me. They began visiting my hospital room regularly, and even their attitude toward William softened somewhat. I didn't want to cause a scene before the devours, so I didn't stop them, though I remained distant. William, however, would scowl every time they came. Only after they left would he return to his usual soft and adorable self. One day he asked me, Mommy, Lara, can I not be friends with Lucas? I looked at him earnest. Of course you don't have to, but why do you dislike him so much? I thought it is. Again, he would enjoy playing with Pierce. Because he shared you, he clenched his fist, his face full of indignity on. If you were my mommy, it never let you be in any danger. And thus? He looked up at me just as filled with concern. I can tell that every time you see him you're not happy. But he asked about your feelings, only about each son. I was slightly taken aback. Alioh had once told me that a selfish woman like me would never be loved by anyone. But now William loves me. And most importantly, I'm learning to love myself too. I thought Lucas and William could coexist peacefully until I was discharged from the hospital. But they ended up fighting. That day, Alioh wasn't around and Lucas came to my hospital room on his own, refusing to leave. While I was in the bathroom, they started wrestling with each other. When I came out, Lucas had William pinned down. I hurriedly pushed Lucas through and shouldered William in my arms. Lucas, now out to the side, suddenly hit tears swelling up in his face and he began to survey in frustration. Mama, I wasn't bullying him, he said. I didn't let him finish and interrupted him. No matter what William said that upset you, I apologize on his behalf. As I spoke, Alioh walked in smiling. But a smile froze on his face instantly. Barely able to suppress his anger, his tone was unnerving restraint. Lara gjorde apologizing to you on son on behalf of someone else. I held to William close, gently wiping the tears from the corners of his eyes. Allo. I looked up and my voice came. William may not be a Moai biological child, but we decided to adopt him. So, is a Moai child now. A Moai resolved him to unsettle him and Allo began to tremble. After a long silence, he forced a strange smile. Fine, if you decided to adopt him, Tien is our child now. When you're discharged, you clear out the storage room at home so he can stay there. Lara, you're a family and we should stay together. Before he could finish, William lifted with his head. His tone was urgent as if he feared missuggestions. I don't need just a mom. I suddenly left and affected naturally ruffled which is here. All right, just mom no. But when I looked up, again my eyes my vanished. Alle wants him discharged, let's finalize the drivers. Chip the pads usually come and current past, Alof began to panic. He tried to grab my hand, but I easily did him, leaving him grasping at nothing but air. Het is hem tegen never imagined they would come when I would reject which that disbelief was written all over his face. His voice trembled slightly, a sign of the anger he was desperately trying to suppress. Lara, have you really thought this through? If it devours, Lucas will stay with me. You won't be allowed to see him again. I learned my gaze and my expression remaining calm and untroubled. Fine. After all, one Sunny becomes serious matter, he won't want to see me anyway. What surprised me was that Lucas suddenly burst into tears and threw himself into my arms. No, Mama, I just don't like you controlling me. I don't want Tanya to be a Moai mom. He was still a Moai child after all. I hesitated for a long time, but finally wrapped a Moai arms round his shoulders. He cried bitterly in a Moai arms, clutching a Moai sleeves tightly as if he feared I would disappear if he let go. I think it had been so long since he had relied on me like this. For a long time he refused to let me touch him. He would say, Mom, I'm grown up now. Stop hugging me all the time, it's annoying. But then he would turn round and cuddle with Anya. I used to make my heart ache, but eventually I grew numb, so I never gave up trying. After all, he once loved them is the most. When he was just learning to tell, the first word he said was, Mom. When he was learning to walk, he would stumble and fall into my arms. During the days when I told me preferred staying at work, over coming home Lucas was my entire support. Back then he would sweetly call me Mom and say that I was his favorite. I chased a swear bread full of love. But then Anya returned. At first when Aloch wasn't available, Lucas refused to go with her when she came to pick him up. But later when Anya brought him the toys he'd wanted for so long, things I'd sold their forward to buy him, he started to change. And eventually the love in each is when he looked at me disappeared. I knew it was time to let go. Lucas was dragged through by Aloch. As he was leaving, he was still crying. In the past, whenever I saw him, even just a single tear, my heart would ache. But now I didn't feel much. I even found his crying a bit annoying. It's not that I don't love him anymore, I just don't want to give so much of my heart anymore. On the day I was discharged from the hospital, Aloch brought Lucas to pick me up. In all the years we were married, not even when I gave birth to Lucas did he come to pick me up. I still remember how cold it was that day, and it rained a little when I was discharged. I held newborn Lucas in one arm and a bag of clothes in the other. I called Aloch asking if he could come pick me up. BG's voice over the phone was filled with impatience. Lara, do you not have legs or what? It's just a short distance and you need someone to pick you up. You're being ridiculous. I thought that was just how he was naturally cold. But later I saw with my own eyes how tenderly he cared for Anya. That's when I realized that it isn't that he was cold by nature, he just didn't love me. I walked home hand in hand with William. Before being discharged, I had already found a new apartment online. It's a small two-bedroom place, small but cozy. Aloch drove us to the new apartment building. As I got out of the car, he suddenly grabbed the my wrist. Lara, have you really made up your mind? There was a look in which he said that I couldn't quite understand, a kind of hope. I looked him straight in the eyes and calmly nodded. The hope in each eyes instantly vanished, leaving behind the usual indifferent expression. Chapter 6. Alright, Lara, I made you at the Civil Air Force Bureau in 3 days. I got out of the car with William and Lucas with red tearfully. A straight Valos but Aloch held him back. He struggled, crying and pleading for me to take him with us. Mom, I'm sorry, please don't leave me. I won't play games anymore and I don't want to toys either. Mom, please don't go. The car door slammed shut and through the window. I saw Aloch holding him down firmly. William gently squeezed my hand. At wrong, I looked down trying to keep my voice steady as I asked him. But the choke in my voice. Cared for? Worried that I might get wet, Jack even took off his jacket and plastered it over my head, gently shielding me as he escorted me to the car. Sitting in the back seat, I watched William and Jack chitting and laughing. Trgettrand and my eyes grew a little misty. When we got to my building, Jack insisted on carrying the grocery box upstairs. I didn't refuse, and William walked between us, holding each of our hands. As I glanced at our revision in the puddles, I suddenly thought that being a family of 3 like us wouldn't be so bad. We were laughing and joking as we went upstairs, but as soon as I stepped out of the elevator, I froze. Lucas was standing at the door holding a beautifully wrapped box, and Aloch was beside him smiling. The moment Aloch saw Jack, his smile vanished. He forced a smile, but his voice was strained and awkward. Lara, how have you been? Pretty good, I replied nonchalantly, stepping past him and Lucas to unlock the door. Jack, still holding Elias' hand, followed me inside. Aloch tried to come in with Lucas as well, but I stopped him with a raised hand. If there is nothing important, don't come in. Aloch froze in place, completely stunned. Lucas ignored my words, trying to slip under my arm to get inside. But his father quickly grabbed him by the collar and pulled him back. Aloch swallowed hard before speaking with difficulty. Lara, do you remember what date is today? Think my confused expression. Lucas told hold at any longer and blurted it out. It's you, I didn't really have ours, smell and held up the gift box. Mom did picked out a beautiful ring for you. Back when we got married, probably out of reluctance, Aloch didn't even bother to get me a wedding ring. After Lucas was born, I mentioned a few times that I wanted a ring, but he always coldly refused. There were times when Aloch reluctantly took me along with Lucas to the mall, and I would linger at the jewelry counters, gazing longingly at the beautiful rings. Each time he pretended not to see, quickly dragging Lucas through, leaving me to awkwardly chase after him. I didn't reach out to take the gift box from Lucas. I no longer needed a ring from him. I have the means to buy one for myself now, and I no longer need someone else to make me happy. When he saw that I wasn't taking the box, Lucas grew anxious. He opened the box himself, pulled out the ridiculously beautiful diamond ring and shoved it into Aloch's hand. Did he really put it on Mom so she can forgive us? Aloch grabbed my hand, trying to slip the ring onto my finger, but I gently pushed him away. Aloch, I don't need it anymore. You've been through ours for a long time. You should take Lucas with you and don't come back to disrupt my life. His hand froze awkwardly in midair, trembling slightly, but he stubbornly refused to pull it back. Lara, can you give me one more chance? There was a rare note of pleading in Ichi's voice, which is a swear filled with desperation. Before I could respond, Jack stepped forward and began pushing him out the door. Perhaps he was afraid I might waver. Chapter 8, but Aloch didn't budge. He was usually so calm, but now he suddenly erupted in anger. He grabbed at Jack by the collar, trying a punch at him. Get lost, this is my family business. What right do you have to push me out? Seeing him so unreasonably, I don't hold back any longer. We say loud. Slab, they fell silent. Aloch clutched to his waist, staring at me in disbelief. I stepped forward and took Yask's hand. Smiling, I looked at Aloch. I forgot to introduce you. This is my boyfriend, Jack. So yes, it's he has every right to make you live. Aloch raised his hand to cover his eyes, crying like a child in front of me. After our hours, I had once imagined him regretting everything. But seeing him so pathetic now didn't bring me the satisfaction I expected. Maybe it's because I truly no longer care and nothing he does concerns me anymore. Before leaving, he reached out wanting to hug me one last time. But I blocked him. Aloch, don't come back anymore. Please let me have some peace, okay? Aloch nodded silently and left with Lucas. As they were leaving, Lucas clung to my leg, begging me to let him stay. His voice was flushed from crying, and he couldn't even string together a full sentence. Mom, please, don't leave me. I promise you. I won't talk back to you anymore and do my homework. Just please don't make me go. Aloch with his stern expression grabbed his collar and practically dragged him away. Lucas didn't look back even as they disappeared into the elevator. He never once glanced at me. It's all in the past now. It's time for us to move on and find our peace. 6 months later, Jack proposed to me. When he got down on one knee and pulled out the ring, I couldn't help but tear up. The ring was big, beautiful. Even more beautiful than the ones I used to admire in the store windows. As he slipped it onto my finger with trembling hands, the crowd around us burst into applause. Everyone was blessing us, and I felt a deep sense of peace. Maybe this is what love is supposed to be. IT makes you feel secure without constantly worrying about losing IT. Most importantly, IT makes you feel worthy of being loved. And I am worthy of all of this. Jack gave me a grand wedding. He took care of everything, not letting me worry about a single detail. I didn't send Aloch an invitation, but on the day of the wedding, he still showed up. As I stood arm in arm with Jack at the entrance of the hotel, I saw Aloch from a distance holding Lucia's hand standing on the other side of the street. Lucas struggled, constantly trying to break free and run towards me, but Aloch held on to him tightly, refusing to let go. I just swear Terry Wingler returned to an hour as finally made its own hold back and began to see ROI. I calmly looked through MY face her down with a gentle smile. Unlike the smile I had on my wedding day with Aloch this time, it was a genuine smile of true happiness. Yepelague after the devours Aloch suffered from insomnia for a long time. He was afraid to close HSS because whenever he did, Lara's image would appear before him. He was even afraid to go home. The living room still bore the scars of the fire, and every time he stepped inside his own hell but started hating himself. He hated himself for choosing Anya back then. He also stopped himself from hating Anya and even Lucas. If it hadn't been for Lucas begging him to save Anya first, maybe Lara wouldn't have lived. He finally belatedly realized that it was Lara he truly loved. As for Anya, she was nothing more than a regret from which he is used. So when Anya asked him if they should get married, he refused to eat or a second thought. Anya whispers in fury assessed him, WHY. He looked at her face filled with disgust and almost through a gritted teeth he said, Because you can't even compare to a single strand of Lara's hair. Lucas cried in front of him many times, begging to see his mom. Each time Aloch would glare at him venomously, telling him, Your mom doesn't want you anymore. She has a new child now, and you mean nothing to her. He watched coldly as Lucas cried until he nearly passed out with a shriek of sympathy. If it hadn't been for him, Lara wouldn't have given up, wouldn't have left him. Lucas hated him too, and that hatred only grew stronger as he got older. Eventually, they stopped talking to each other altogether. On the day of Lara's wedding, Aloch took Lucas to the scene. He stood across the street watching her smile, and suddenly he felt a sense of relief. She really did look happy, and her smile was truly beautiful. When they first got married, she had smiled at him like that too. At that time, Aloch thought she would always be BYG's side, so he had recklessly hurt her. He had lost her with HS on hands, and the most detestable person